Hey friends, I'm Drakpa. We'll again just touch into our lived motivation of bodhicitta, wisdom and compassion. It genuinely cares for every single being. The genuine wish that all beings have happiness and the causes of happiness, and they're freed from suffering and the causes of suffering, and that each being is inherently valuable, has Buddha nature, has this inherent genius, this boundless compassion and boundless wisdom is the very essence, the open essence of every single awareness, every single being. So we really connect with that lived view or world view, that tawa. So turn that on, and then we'll pray, connect to all beings who've really fully turned that on, these enlightened beings, awakened beings, Buddhas. And we'll pray to kind of be receptive to and kind of aligned with their guidance, their living kind of like connective, blessing. Hong Jin Jin Dan Sam Pama Gesa Dambol Ha Yazin Dugid Hudumni Pama Jini Jesudak Kutunga Rum Hamburgo Jiji Jesu Dubji Jinji Lubji Jesus Ho Guru Pama Sede Hong Oma Hong Benza Guru Pama Sede Hong Oma Hong Benza Guru Pama Sede Hong Oma Hong Benza Guru Pama Sede Hong. The earth anointed with perfumed water and strewn with flowers, Mount Meru and the four continents ornamented with sun and moon, by offering them visualized as a Buddha field, may all beings enjoy the Pure Land. Idam Guru Ratnam Mandala Kamniyatayami. According to the wishes of beings, for the high and low, common and uncommon vehicles, please turn the wheel of Dharma. This is a somewhat simple reflection on a very, very profound topic, and that's confidence. Confidence in our nature, especially during our current times. So I'm jumping right in here to Vajrayana mode, Tibetan Buddhist mode. And specifically in Mahayoga, they have what's called the three Samadhis. True nature Samadhi, the all-arising compassion Samadhi, and the seed syllable Samadhi. These three, they're very, very popularly kind of like strongly emphasized in the Mahayoga teachings of Buddha Shakyamuni and Guru Rinpoche and all these great masters. And so Mahayoga is the seventh yana vehicle, according to Tibetan Buddhist vehicle systems or tenant philosophical systems. So these three Samadhis, true nature Samadhi, all-arising compassion Samadhi, and seed syllable Samadhi. This is at the beginning of every single meditation session we do in a Vajrayana context. It's like a sadhana practice, or when we sit down and we're actually following a text that's designed to include all the essential components of a complete path to enlightenment. That's the amazing kind of powerful meta-heuristic power of a sadhana practice taught by the Buddha. That by bringing together the foundational Buddhism, the Sutra Mahayana path or Bodhisattva path, and also the Tantra Mahayana path or Vajrayana indestructible vehicle, as well as Dzogchen, or this highest, kind of most direct, most simple, most natural approach. All together, these are brought together in a seamless unity, which is called a sadhana practice. So at the very beginning of a sadhana practice, even in this little reflection time we have here, there's always a moment where we're trying to be first, true nature Samadhi, recognize our awareness as it is, before it blocks itself or chunks itself or holds itself into a more restricted, delimiting, limiting, constricted, contracted way of being, a sense of me in a world that's not me. So this duality mode of various kinds, before that happens, we're trying to recognize how our heart is, how our mind is right now, this very moment, as pure, perfect, and complete, inexhaustible, beyond all conceptualization, inherently good, wise, loving. That's this first true nature Samadhi. And then, so firstly, that emphasizes often the openness quality, the emptiness quality, the empty of any rigid, stuck fixation. This emptiness or interdependence, that's kind of one way to highlight that, this boundless, open, spacious awareness that then naturally has this quality of compassionate inclusivity, of boundless connectivity, of infinite love and infinite compassion. That's like just pervasive, without any obstruction or limit. This is called all arising compassion samadhi. It's the compassion, it's how our heart is, not because it sees something that's aching, suffering, hurting, but it's just naturally how it always is. It's how a balanced mind is, how a balanced heart is. It's naturally inclusive, it's naturally uplifting, it naturally cares. It has a natural loving, compassionate quality. That is how our heart mind is, taught by the Buddha. This is called all arising compassion samadhi. And so we kind of highlight that aspect of open, spacious awareness. There's always a clarity aspect, which is this infinite, boundless compassion and love for every single being. And then that infinite, boundless, pervasive compassion begins to crystallize and take shape. It's more outreaching quality to distill itself into a shape, a form, a body, a world. This is called seed syllable samadhi. So that's why at the beginning of every sadhana there's a seed syllable uttered. That's when this infinite, spacious awareness with this natural, pervasive, compassionate quality that includes all experience starts to gel or kind of like formalize, or to some degree kind of like crystallize itself into a form. And like from formless into the next layering of form is called semi-form or sound. And so that's why it's called the seed syllable samadhi. And it's first just a sound like hung. But then the more crystallized or tangible version of hung is actually a depiction, a visual depiction, an embodied depiction of hung, like a note on a page. Like it's not just the sound of the note, but it's actually on a scale written as a note. So similarly here, the syllable hung has a specific shape according to whatever language system you're using. And that shape is actually how infinite wisdom and infinite compassion in union embody itself as a shape. So as sound taking form. So hung, orjin, nujin, nujamsam. That's before, like in PBC practices, every single one taught by Venerable Khenpo Rinpoche. We begin with the 7-line prayer of Guru Rinpoche. So first it's first is true nature samadhi, recognizing Rigpa. That's emptiness. That Rigpa has a brilliant, all-encompassing, clear, natural cognizance. That's all arising compassion or clarity. This emptiness and clarity are always in union. That means that kind of pervasive, spacious openness that has this juicy quality of love and compassion always takes a body or a relational kind of emanation. And that's this Nirmanakaya, this union of emptiness and clarity, which is called seed syllable samadhi. And then that starts to be depicted in a more tangible body as an actual syllable, like hong or om or ah. And so hong or jinujinizam. So firstly, that seed syllable is takes shape, and then that seed syllable becomes an actual, sometimes a ritual implement, like a dorje or a vajra. And then that can expand to become a body of a Buddha, of a deity. And then that expands sometimes to become that deity with a partner or consort. And then that can expand. So they're all with ornamentations and hand implements and very specific physical features. And that expands to have a retinue of a group of beings. And then that can expand to have an extended retinue. And of course, always this assumes a world that it's happening in. And so all this is called this is how the 3 Vajras of pure body, pure speech, and pure mind unfold themselves in a practice sequence in Tibetan Buddhism. So from pure mind, Rigpa, arises this pure speech, which is hong, as a sound that's taking shape. So that's pure speech. So as it takes more and more shape, that's called pure body. And that body could be a syllable, a ritual implement, a physical body, a yabum with partner body, with a retinue, in a world, with all these beings doing enlightened activities. And that's called pure body, pure speech, pure mind, as a living sadhana practice. And so here the main point, this is how the 3 Vajras are actually brought together with the 3 Samadhis, as actual specific lineage instructions that then, how is the world shaped? How is the body look? What is the seed syllable sound? What is the sonic essence? That is all depending on the specific sadhana you're practicing that's been held in an unbroken living lineage that you would have to receive from an actual physical, accomplished, qualified master, either through empowerment of that specific sadhana practice that's related to a deity, or through a transmission, a reading transmission, where they like actually kind of transfer the kind of like pure enlightened sound that's been uninterrupted in a broken sequence all the way back to the Buddha, and also sometimes instruction or tree. So altogether, these three, Wang, Lung, Tree, or empowerment, transmission, and instruction, give you the full kind of like suite of things you would need to fully be kind of like empowered or like enabled also to actually have a sadhana practice and to have enough of instruction and also a living lineage connection with the beings who actually became awakened by using that same practice, that same set of psychotechnologies and living ecologies of wisdom beings, because they were a student primarily and they received it from a living teacher themselves. And this goes back in an uninterrupted sequence all the way to the Buddha, which then goes back even further. And so this is how we actually embody pure body, pure speech, and pure mind, or the three Vajras, in a sadhana practice as a practice, something we can transformatively embody and do again and again to actually first intellectually understand that everything is pure, and then to have a taste of it, an experience, and then to start to strengthen that experience where it becomes more and more stable over time. We actually have a more prolonged experience of the three Vajras until that becomes realization, where it's always on. This realization becomes a steady, continuous, or Ju, Tantra, a continuous, uninterrupted realization of pure body and pure speech and pure mind. And in Tibetan Buddhism, that's called Vidyadhara level. We become an awareness holder, someone who holds that awareness of the three Vajras. And then, of course, how that's layered, how that's shaped, how that's formed, that all arises within a specific living ecological context of a sadhana. Because these aren't just techniques that you plug and play. It's not like we can take our usual samsara experience, our usual samsara view, our usual sense of me in a world, and then we pop in some sadhana as if it's like a plug and play like software download, and somehow then all of a sudden we have a blue body with 4 arms doing activities, but it's all just samsara and I'm pretending. It's all just me and I'm like trying to feel 10% better, happier by doing this certain Vajrayana practice, and somehow like by plugging in Vajrayana techniques or energy practices or something into my usual normalized, for me, like mundane, habitual way of feeling me with others in a world. That's called a trespassing in Tibetan Buddhism. It was never taught like that. The view doesn't mean just like having a technique you insert into whatever your habitual frame is. The view is a living, embodied, co-creative, inactive way of being, knowing, and becoming, doing in the world. It's like a living, full-on experience of world with others and oneself. So self, other, world, or like self, nature, and culture, the shared meaning making of the beings in the world, or the intersubjective kind of like knowledge and like kind of patterns we follow, like meaning in the societal structures that we're in the different patterns, like physical patterns, of biological patterns, chemical patterns, like much all these kind of like material or more tangible level patternings, like we call it world. So this is like kind of all standard bread and butter Tibetan Buddhist or Vajrayana stuff. It's always, to say that, it's always this standard Tibetan Buddhist stuff always includes the sub-ecologies that it's based on, like Middle Way Madhyamaka, which is based on mind only, which is based on Sautrantika, representational theory of mind, which is based on Vaibhashika, like seeing everything as irreducible units of space, time, mind, and a sense of self. And so these sub-ecologies, basically the valuable like contributions of each, is included but extended into a more refined, more accurate, more strictly kind of like natural and complete depiction of how enlightened beings experience stuff when they're not funneling their experience through mistaken, samsaric, dualistic perception or fixation. So there is a directionality in Buddha's teachings according to this 9-yana system taught in Nyingma school. Like each yana in each teaching becomes more clear, more detailed, and more complete. It's a more direct expression of how things are naturally, how a sense of awareness is unfolding. So there's a more direct naturalness. There's a more complete inclusion of naturalness, and there's a more granular detail of what are the features of the patterns of cause, condition, and effect, or of patterning, of pratitya or interdependence, on each layer or each scale, each context that's being included according to the Jnana vehicle system. So there's a very specific directionality. In the end, it's not a final exhaustive set, because the nature of everything is emptiness. That was established in the middle way Nyingma view, that we go beyond all conceptual designation by recognizing the lack of inherent existence of all seemingly apparent things. But these things aren't truly things. They're not truly singular, independent, and permanent. They're actually just relational, temporary holding patterns. And if it's distorted, they're called negative habits. If those habits actually orient us towards being more clear, direct, complete, and detailed of actual natural, pure wisdom expression, then that's called a good habit, or a healthy habit, or merit, or virtue. And what is the merit and virtue leading us towards these good positive habits, or positive grasping? To a state of naturalness, non-grasping wisdom awareness. And so in this sadhana practice, we have what it is like we're using positive habit to like have certain visualizations, certain embodied imaginal ways of being in the world, in a sacred world, with sacred others, and a sacred sense of me, doing sacred activities. So that's pure body, pure speech, and pure mind. We're like using, to some degree, fake it till you make it, pretending, like positive grasping habits, in order to recognize non-grasping natural wisdom awareness. So at first we visualize and hold something in a patterned way to get more kind of like intellectually, experientially, and then re-strengthen, and eventually become stable and have an ongoing, always-on realization of the enlightened nature of body, speech, and mind, or of everything, that everything is actually enlightened, and one has Buddha nature, and so does every being, and that's actually the natural condition of everything. So we use these positive habits or positive grasping in order to recognize non-grasping wisdom awareness, which is why in sadhana practice, always a main point is that everything we're visualizing is called transcendental wisdom rainbow body. It's not tangibly fixed. It's all made of light, if you like, as a metaphor, actually. Light itself, we then, reify as if it's a thing, But it's this holographic, kind of very vividly apparent, reality, just the way this stuff is too. Seems vividly apparent, but we just fixate on specific aspects of it, and they seem to be things in a fixed world with a fixed me. But just as vividly, we're trying to imaginally be with pure body and pure speech and pure mind, meaning pure world, pure other, that's retinue, pure self, that's deity, with pure pattern systems, that's called pure mantra. All these squishy layers of semi-form, of all these pattern systems of different energetic kind of like expressions taking shape. So this is all called transcendental wisdom rainbow body. On the absolute level, there's no fixed thing there, but relationally, there's exquisitely precise pattern of enlightened activities, of kind of receiving blessings of wisdom beings, of having our own wisdom, intelligence, and compassion pouring out as like specific activities, ways that we're serving beings, we're serving the teachings. So this is like a little bit of an overview of how the three samadhis are actually practiced as the foundational kind of like orientation in any sadhana practice, according to then Mahayoga and Ana Yoga and Ati Yoga. Mahayoga starts with everything in the world is seen as sacred, as well as ourselves. Ana Yoga takes that more subtly, that our body has entire ecologies or worlds that are sacred of different beings. And then Ati Yoga is the full gamut, full spectrum inclusion of every single experience, both the samsaric ones and the nirvanic ones, the pure ones and the impure ones. All of it has the same nature of primordial purity. So it doesn't pick and choose between different, when we're going to be, kind and when not, or what we're going to include. It's all equally sacred. It's all equally pure. It's all equally expression, like wisdom expression of the nature, of our emptiness nature that has this quality of infinite, boundless, loving, and compassionate kind of inclusion. And that it's all equally that way. And it's by kind of consistently, again and again, turning on this true nature samadhi or rigpa, then we're trying to reflash that in, regardless of our context, whether we're in the kitchen, at work, with kids, being silent, talking, or not. There's always that nature is there. It's always the actual quality of awareness. And so we're trying to flash on and actually come from that living nature, this true nature samadhi or rigpa all the time. And then By doing that, we start to integrating the entire field of our daily activities, both our meditative formal meditation sessions and then our post-meditative just usual daily activities, doing whatever we happen to be doing. And so here we are. The main point is confidence. Makes a big difference if we believe in this stuff when we do it. Because if we say the 3 Vajras and we say the 3 Samadhis, but when it comes down to actually practicing it, we set a really quiet container for ourselves, like an hour aside to sit down and just practice and be with it. So we set up an easy container that's more optimal for this to happen more easily. So that's called a formal practice session. And that during that session, if we're constantly doubting it or hesitating it, or this isn't true, I don't have Buddha nature, these beings aren't there, what is wisdom even? I'm actually inherently bad, I have original sin, and I'm just a broken being, and I can't do this, maybe I can do kind of. But if all those things, they'll interrupt our ability to elegantly, seamlessly be in a living ecology that's pure body, pure speech, pure mind. It disrupts it. So constantly we're this watcher that like, I actually am a piece of crap and I'm just trying to feel better by doing this pretend stuff. That won't work. Vajrayana won't work because we're trying to hold 2 views. We're principally holding a view that I'm bad and all this world is broken and wrong. Samsara is real. And then we're trying to plug in some Vajrayana tech in there. Energy practices or some visualization practices or mantra recitation practices. So we're plugging in the Vajrayana tech into a non-Vajrayana view, and that mismatch will cause, it's called trespassing. We're like actually not in the right sacred ecology of me and others and world. Sacred self, sacred others, sacred world. We're actually saying, crummy me, crummy you, crummy world. And we're trying to input this pretend version of everything being pure and good and essentially wisdom and stuff. So that's called doubt and hesitation. So we need to get really confident so that we don't do that. Confident in first, true nature samadhi. Confident in our boundless capacity to be loving and like have compassion for every single being and every experience we have. We don't shut down or push any of it out. We're trying to get really confident in that way. Confident meaning regularly that way. Have more of a realization. This is the way this is. And then that comes together as like this world I'm in, this visualized world in a formal practice or in a post-meditation, this actual world of flowers and wood and, sounds and computers and people and noises and, being bored and having hunger happen and all that. We're trying to integrate this. Not believe that samsara is true and we're adding on some Vajrayana stuff, but we're trying to actually believe and be with the Vajrayana view. It's all pure. Every being is inherently good and wise. And that what the problem is when we cling to and reify the samsara thing as being real, that prevents us from going into this Vajrayana 3 Vajra mode. And so confidence is key. That's kind of what this all comes down to in terms of having really high quality practice, whether it's for a few seconds or a few minutes or an hour or like a few years or lifetimes. The confidence, meaning we can really be in 3 Vajra mode with 3 Samadhis, and we don't keep interrupting ourselves with all this doubt and hesitation. So first we need really high quality moments. We need a moment where it's like so certain. We have certainty wisdom. This is Rigpa. This is its natural compassionate display. I am a deity. This is a pure world. We need to develop that certainty both through study, that's refined conceptual process, study, like healthy, positive, grasping habit of positive concepts, and then also practice, non-conceptual wisdom awareness that has the nature, the quality of love and compassion. We actually be that way in these longer and longer moments. So high quality moments, and we support that, and we support others to do that. And we just practically like set up situations where it's easier to connect to love and connect to compassion and turn on the 4 boundless qualities of infinite love, compassion, sympathetic joy, and equanimity, to see the goodness in others, see the goodness in ourselves, to like hear the sound of something and just enjoy it, just the beauty of it, that we are in a world where such sounds can happen, where the movement of wind just like happens and our body feels it and it knows it's happening. And our ears are open, functioning. That's why more in these Dzogchen approaches, it's not trying to turn anything off. is trying to relax with all these natural intelligences we have, with our eyes and ears and nose and tongue and body and minds, our emotions, our conceptualization. Is trying to use it all because all of its nature is pure and perfect. It is enlightened. The very quality or essence, the formless, groundless, essenceless essence of all of it, this interdependent, dynamic quality, is enlightened. It is wisdom and compassion and union. And so this is especially relevant nowadays, and this is kind of more why I kind of even thought to record this right now, is that the Buddha really, it's more and more, the more and more I look, the Buddha was really right. This age is going to get harder. This degenerate age is getting harder, and it's empowered by bad actors using more powerful tech. Specifically, I'm thinking of AI in this basic arms race to make the most powerful tech that will basically infuse all the different ways that we are in this world, our energy systems and communications and transportation systems and education systems and social structures and ways that we scan things and check things and record things and know things and research things, and all this stuff is being infused with AI, artificial intelligence, and this AI is more and more training itself and more making decisions on its own. And it's all being designed and operated by mainly a lot of bad actors. And even if they want the world to be a better place and they think that by becoming a god, some godlike power person, they'll be the one to bring the utopian vision, their vision of a utopian vision, they have other incentives. And if they're not coming from a place of bodhicitta, wisdom and compassion, they're coming from samsara mode mind, then that kind of power is just devastating. It's happening. It's really hard, the kind of some of the brightest people looking into this stuff, it's really hard to bind that kind of a tech and power that we're unleashing right now with bodhicitta. You can't enforce bodhicitta. You have to just demonstrate how it's a beautiful, elegant, natural quality of mind, and it's naturally more fulfilling than all the samsaric win-lose things. Win-win is better. Omni-win is natural. Cooperation, interdependence is the natural condition. And it's through our own study and practice, we have to get confident this is true. And through our actual physical formal practice, we have to get more and more courageously confident that everyone has Buddha nature. This is the way it is. Because these bad players, these bad actors, these basically just selfish beings that have the karma to have this amount of power. These empiric kings and queens, these titans of tech, whatever you call them, captains of industry, blah, blah, blah. They're basically people trying to make themselves into gods. And Buddha taught extensively on this. Form and formless gods, gods of desire realm, gods of form realm, gods of formless realm. All of those kinds of gods taught by the Buddha are worse. They're worsely situated to actually awaken. The human embodiment, the human body in this worlding we're in it's called the land of opportunity. Just the right ratio mix of suffering and happiness. It's just enough that we get a taste of happiness where we're not constantly being tortured, for example, but it's fleeting. There's suffering, it's never quite right. There's always something wrong. Someone farts in the room or whatever, we get hungry or our legs start to hurt or whatever. The day's going well and then you trip and fall and scrape your arm, it's just is always something because it's such a dynamical system. The dynamical counteractive system, these embodied ecologies that are in us, that we're with, that are between us. It's all this internested networks of cause, condition, and effect. So it's always moving. Process is constantly happening at every scale without limit. It's inexhaustible. But basically these people who happen to be heads of these companies, and there's a lot of specific data on this now. It's not just waxing poetic. If you want to really get sober and very kind of grounded and also kind of wow, about scary what's happening with this increased race of AI. Look at Daniel Schmachtenberger. He had a video. It's a conversation with Nate Hoggins in his podcast, Great Simplification. So I think it's called Silicon World and something. Look up Schmachtenberger, Nate Hoggins, Great Simplification on his podcast. There's a lot of data on this. All the biggest companies, they're all AI oriented now. just all the ways in terms of ecologically, with biodiversity, and it's all accelerating to basically have more power that's used with not as much wisdom. It's still selfishly driven, and we're using more power, more energy, we're getting energy more efficiently, but we don't have this ground level of contentment like the Buddha taught. It's talked about as renunciation or joy and appreciation. First, he said we need to turn on contentment. Why? Because we're worth it. Because this is a fleeting situation. You are precious. I am precious. Our relationships are precious. This is all actually sacred. Pure world, pure body, pure self, pure other. It's all sacred. It has Buddha nature. Right? And so we turn on this bodhicitta and we develop kind of this renunciation or this joy and appreciation, gratitude of what we have that's amazing. Our bodies, ourselves, our world, the air, each other, relationships, beautiful memories, and amazing talents, this natural embodied capacity to be so intermeshed and responsive and reciprocally interactive with our experience. It's just amazing, the genius kind of stuff that we came into with this body, with others in this world, on this planet that just makes flowers and food, and we almost just don't have to do anything. It just does it, you know? That we highlight that first, joy and appreciation. So we have omni-win, bodhicitta only. Always has to be win-win. And we consciously choose that. We bind ourselves to that. And based on that approach, we use this enhanced Vajrayana technology, this world making, this co-enactive world shaping. That's Vajrayana, that's based on the three Vajras of pure body, pure speech, and pure mind. By performatively being in true nature Samadhi, with all arising infinite boundless compassion, that then distills itself into more and more refined transcendental wisdom rainbow bodies doing enlightened activity, even using light for the only omni-win benefit, mutual uplift of self, other, and world. We choose that every moment in our practice. But these tech giants, they're not choosing that. They're trying to be these formless gods, basically, where they figure out how to upload or download or whatever, go transhuman, put their consciousness on some server, that regardless of whether this world fails and this messiness of biological stuff, like it'll never be impermanent again, they'll be on some forever server and they'll be able to like do anything they want. That's basically, they're just trying to create a God realm. That the Buddha taught, this God realm actually has the worst suffering in all of samsara. When the God realm beings recognize they're about to die because they've exhausted their merit, their stock of virtue, to actually have a body embodiment of God realm awareness, an awareness that's in a God realm body, a formless, invisible body from our perspective, that once they realize that, all their friends leave them, they start to smell, they start to lose everything. They see with great cognizance, clarity, where they're about to be reborn. They see there's nothing that can stop it. It's a lower rebirth. It's going to be excruciating pain because they've exhausted all the merit, all the positive virtue. And there's nothing they can do about it. And from God realm years, that's like eons of time of this excruciating suffering. And so people like Peter Thiel or whoever, Zuckerberg and Elon and all the guys, it's almost all the dudes, they're trying to replicate what it could be like to be a formless God being. And for formless God beings, when the Buddha came back after turning the wheel of Dharma and the Tushita heaven realm, or that heaven realm of 33, teaching his mother during this Labab Duchen time, when the gods were returning with the Buddha and he was walking down like a staircase, 1 foot on space and 1 foot on this constructed staircase by the gods. They made it as an offering made of like lapis lazuli and crystal and something like gold and space. The Buddha had 1 foot off the staircase to demonstrate he didn't need it, but he was like appreciative of them making it and all that. Certain way getting close to Earth, where he was going to return the wheel of Dharma here for us human beings on this planet at this time. The gods didn't even want to come closer because the stench of humans is so sickening to them. It doesn't matter how good we get this we try to become gods as humans. We're basically wasting that land of opportunity where we could actually awaken so that we could actually become Buddhas and constantly serving the teachings and beings. Why does that mean, serving the teachings and beings? Serving beings means do anything we can to fine-tune according to the exact specific contextual circumstances that would be the perfect way to support someone's own wisdom and compassion to turn on even more brightly, autopoetically, on its own. That's serving beings. And we do that with one being, with ourselves, with someone else, with more beings, with more and more beings. We expand the aperture. That's the Bodhisattva Bhumis. We're expanding our reach of interdependence, where we can keep on the true nature Samadhi with more and more kinds of patterns on, and more daily experiences, more and more mental landscapes, more and more embodiments, more and more world systems, more and more deeply into the past, into the future. We're getting a greater reach. This is what the Bodhisattva Bhumi levels or layers are tracking. A greater reach of interdependence while maintaining this true nature Samadhi. And all of a sudden, these habits to block it, to like have a restricted sense of me or identity, as we release those habits, they're called obscurations, cognitive and emotional obscurations, as we release them, as they peel themselves away, because our wisdom capacity is turning on, and the sheer power of its pristine brilliance and laser-like wisdom power just evaporates these kind of blockages we have. Then all of a sudden these cities start turning on. These clair audience, clair visual field, clair knowing. Like all of a sudden these kind of what are seen as magical abilities from a samsaric perspective, these are actually just our natural capacities of heart and mind when we're not blocked up with these habits that we've restricted ourselves into, cocooned ourselves into for infinite beginningless time, by not being okay with that amount of power, that amount of goodness, that amount of intelligence, that amount of wisdom. That sheer power of our own wisdom and compassion is so much, it scares us, and we restrict to a tighter embodiment, and a tighter embodiment, and a tighter embodiment, and a tighter embodiment. We've done that so long. Now it seems natural to feel like this. Me. And what we have to do is loosen it and open it, and all of a sudden, like, we get more relaxed and like enjoying what it's like to be free flow, what it's like to be flexibly engaged and a part of something, and processually in movement, and like constantly dynamically with others in worlds, and the multiplicity of our layered selfness, of like the suite of all these sub-ecologies, of all these amazing intelligences we have with ourselves, with others in worlds. This sheer plurality of ontology, of epistemology, of methodology, the sheer meta-integrative power we have to be natural. The Buddha nature naturally is. So AI is not doing any of that. It's not even touching that at all. Tibet was this window of opportunity from the 8th century when Guru Rinpoche brought the teachings there as the reincarnation of the Buddha, or the re-emanation of Buddha, brought the teachings there, kept the tech real low, and then created this, hundreds of years, like optimal, protected Himalayan range of like practice parameter. So a bunch of beings could become bodhisattvas and enlightened beings during this time by like having super low tech, like hardly showering and having almost no food options, and like very simple living, like a very closely or tightly bound to their local ecologies. So they had to learn from the ecologies, be with the ecologies. You didn't want to pollute the river because it was like where you had fun and got water and where your animals drank from. And it was like with this enlightened view of Vajrayana Buddhism and the enlightened tech that it comes with, like the 3 Samadhis, then for hundreds of years, beings got on the Bhumi Bodhisattvas. They become Bhumi Bodhisattvas. And now we've developed a certain analytic understanding with this so-called age of Eurocentric reason, where all of a sudden we got really good at changing the material side of reality, the quantifiable components. And very soon afterwards, within 200 to 300 years, we've learned how to break planetary boundaries and basically make this not a viable planet for all species, including humans. And with AI, what are we going to do? We're going to there's like the arms race between the big AI companies to get there first, because the first one to the AI golden prize of AGI, if they can control it, which they won't be able to, which the Buddha predicted, the age of degeneration is getting worse. There's going to be a single world ruler that has control over everything, and they're going to be a total non-dharmic samsara king. And at that point, Buddha Maitreya is going to come and stop that. Then it's going to become on its way to a golden age again of love, using that elegance and the kind of internested infrastructures at that point to actually rediscover our natural condition of love, compassion, and wisdom. But we didn't need to get the tech and be that integrated to do it. We just needed to have renunciation or joy and appreciation, keep things really simple, that's called contentment, and really turn on this view of embodied sacred self, other and world, or pure body, pure speech, pure mind. And with these very simple conditions, we can actually become these infinitely expressible dynamic beings, which is our it's our birthright. It's like, it's how we are all the time that we keep overlooking. AI is going to make so many catastrophic, cascading situations of things, like all these unintended consequences by having selfish people use them just for greater pleasure seeking. And of course, I'm a selfish person and I want greater pleasure, but I don't want to like run the world and build a planet called Drakpa and like upload my consciousness into some whatever digital like avatar version where I can do anything I want. Like, I'm not seduced by the God realm stuff. I believe in the Buddha's teachings too much. This human realm is so much better. The fact that we're actually internested with others, the fact that we're limited, that we get tired and we have to go to sleep, therefore we can dream, therefore we can do dream yoga, therefore we can do more bodhisattva activities. Like, because we're limited, because we're wounded, because we're connected, it's so much more obvious that interdependence is true. Impermanence is true. Conditioned mind grabbing unrealistically is suffering, dissatisfying, fundamentally uncertain, because the unknowing quality of its grasping ignorance is suffering. But before that happens, there's wisdom mind, wisdom heart. And that sees that all of this is already transcendental wisdom rainbow body. It's already a pure land. The Buddha taught this so clearly in the Vajrayana views. There's no such thing as samsara from the enlightened perspective. This is the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas tried to search throughout all space for a long time, trying to find one iota of samsara, and they weren't able to find it. It's just a figment of our distorted, grasping imaginations. And so here we're using Vajrayana view and tech to use imagination, positive grasping, in a healthy way that's going to reorient us towards our natural condition of love, compassion, and wisdom, this Buddha nature that's only omni-win. And we'll keep choosing that, regardless of what happens with all this AI stuff, as degeneration continues, which the Buddha clearly taught it was going to do. We need to have great confidence in our view, in the three Vajras, in the three Samadhis. Why? Not so we can have a nice little bunker position as the world burns more hotly, more quickly. No. So we can be available as resources, these giant interactive fields of love and compassion and wisdom, and the power of our intelligence, the power of our embodiment, the multiplicity, flexibility of our embodied enlightened wisdom is going to just branch out and connect as much as we can to as many beings as we can, so we can, that's called serving the teachings. We can become pathways, doorways to Dharma, not in some dogmatic, doctrinal, strictly by the book thing. No, as living embodiments of love and compassion and wisdom that sympathetically, sympoetically attunes to others and only uplifts them according to what is helpful for their worlding, their world making, their embodiment, whether it's animal or human, any kind of human embodiment, or asura or Gandharva or any of them, any kind of being, hell beings and preta beings and all this, rakshasas and even the most heinous, distorted, demented, other destructive humans. We will be fields of love and compassion and wisdom for them. And we don't need AI to do this. If you're a great bodhisattva, use AI. You can use AI without getting seduced into selfishness. You'd want to use AI. But if we don't have where we choose to regularly, always on, bind ourselves to bodhicitta, stuff like AI is going to be way too powerful. And it might make our workflow more elegant and lower our costs. Awesome. But when we gain that efficiency, what do? Do we use more time to generate bodhicitta, to be more loving in the world? Or we just fill it with more samsaric shit? Do we just take the goodies for ourselves more actively and externalize all the downsides downstream into someone else's backyard? Because that's what late-stage capitalism is doing. It got really good at externalizing all the stuff that you couldn't tangibly hold them accountable for in a court of law to have to pay for. This doesn't have to be this way. And here we are on the trajectory, and the Buddha taught it very clearly. The age of degeneration is going to get worse. We are in a sweet window right now. We have these bodies. We have this beautiful world. We have this air. Yes, there's all these forever chemicals in our bodies, in the rainwater. And there's so much war and so much racism and sexism and ageism and ableism and all these things of samsaric beings hurting each other and hurting their environment. And we need to get confidence in the three Vajras. It's all perfectly pure. And how do you deal with samsara burning itself alive and also maintain the three Vajra view? That is what we need to get good at. So we can be fields of sanity, of great wisdom display for other beings, not as saviors, but as just natural, supportive, loving ecologies. Just beingness. You get around these great masters, and just being in the field of their presence is so rejuvenating. It's so refreshing. Like the great Venerable Khenpo Tsewang Dongyal Rinpoche, just any connection with him is, I've seen it for 21 years. It's always refreshing. My studies refreshed, my devotions refreshed, my energies refreshed, my clarity's refreshed, and it also points out where I'm getting myself stuck, where I'm going off the path, where I'm getting more selfish, where I'm shutting down, where I'm kind of trying to game or spiritually bypass. Also being in the presence of these noble ones that have bodhicitta on all the time, it shows that. It shows the ways I'm blocking myself. I keep blocking my path. But it also says, you can do it. Keep going. Buddha nature's there. It's already enlightened. You're enlightened to just see that. Be that. Confidently be that. For the benefit of all beings. And maintain this living lineage of love and compassion and wisdom. Serve the teachings. So that regardless of what happens outside or inside, we can be these complete ecologies. Living wisdom ecologies. Connected to living lineage wisdom beings. Just praying to lineage masters isn't just praying to some past thing. In terms of Tibetan Buddhist view, they're alive and available. Sri Singha, Manjushri Mitra, Vimala Mitra, they're alive. We call to them, they presence in the space that we're in. They come into our awareness, in our mindscapes, in our world shaping. There's not a fixed anything anywhere. The great Vimala Mitra instantly can arise. The great Vimala Mitra and Padmasambhava, they're already here. These living wisdom masters already populate the space of this Pure Land, which is the very condition of our existence on planet Earth. This is straight up bread and butter Vajrayana view stuff. I don't even have a hint of realizing it myself, but I'm trying to analytically study it and get tastes of it. Try to get a little more stable in it. Try to have it be an ongoing, continuous experience. I have no doubt that in the truth of these teachings. I'm just so lazy. So seduced by other things, right? Because there's such a wealth of abundance of all these distractions. So I have to choose to hold myself accountable with some constraints. To actually stay more disciplined, not in a tight way. Discipline is called gentleness. In Khenpo Rinpoche's Door to Inconceivable Wisdom and Compassion translation. The Shila, the discipline, is considered gentleness. We're honoring the goodness of ourselves and others. And that becomes a generosity. To be a field of clear, pristine, fresh, clean, healthy gentleness. This ground of ethics where we're really binding into omni-win bodhicitta. This is the answer. When it's a good time, when it's a bad time, when it's a degenerate age, when it's a golden age, when it's a human body, when it's a non-human or more than human body. Bodhicitta, bodhicitta, bodhicitta. That's it. It includes it all. So in honor of bodhicitta, we'll just spaciously enjoy it. Enjoy the open, formless quality of bodhicitta, true nature samadhi. Have it resplendently shine out. Its clarity capacity is boundless, pervasive bodhicitta. Have that bodhicitta take shape as this body, this pure body of me and you in this amazing world we have. And then the video ends. We go on with our day and reconnect to bodhicitta as much as we can. As many moments of high quality bodhicitta as we can. This is how we can serve the teachings and beings. By this merit may all obtain omniscience. May it defeat the enemy, wrongdoing. From the stormy waves of birth, old age, sickness, and death. From the ocean of samsara may I free all beings. The precious bodhicitta, and those without it may it be generated, and those who have it may it never diminish, but always continue increasing. Deity, mantra, and dharmakaya are the nature of appearance, sound, and awareness, the pervasive kaya and wisdom display of the Buddhas. May practitioners of the profound and secret Vajrayana become inseparable from the innermost one-taste awareness of wisdom mind. Love you, friends. Truly, we are in this together forever. I'm very thankful for that. And really, do what you can to inspire yourself to reconnect to bodhicitta. And to some degree, that does mean we need to know what's going on in the world. It's like healthy preventative medicine. We need to know what's kind of like bad things are around the corner. And also to predict the really beautiful things around the corner. And always never lose track of the unchanging goodness, this Buddha nature we have. So we're tracking what's getting better, what's getting worse, and what's unchanging. What is true regardless of what seems to apparently be shifting. And that's called this pure wisdom mind. And then knowing and seeing its pure wisdom display in all cases, at all times, in all contexts. This is the Vajrayana view.